A woman who can't have kids should just leave right now.
Yeah. I'm gonna divorce you and start a family with someone younger, they declared. I was just listening to this, dumbfounded. My name is Susan. I'm a 26-year-old housewife. I married Andrew, my husband, just a year ago. Andrew was my boss at work, and I admired him for his competence. Swept off my feet by his advances, I quickly entered into a relationship and then marriage with him. Becoming a housewife was Andrew's idea, and I thought a happy life was waiting for us. But less than a month after getting married, I noticed a change in him. "Hey, what have you been doing all day? The cleaning's not done, is it?" As soon as he got home, Andrew started yelling. "The place isn't messy, and I did vacuum today." "What are you looking at?" "There's hair on the floor in the corner." "I hate that." "You're a housewife, so make sure everything's spotless." "But I have other things to do besides cleaning." "Don't make excuses. You're being supported by me, so it's your job to make sure I'm satisfied." Andrew coldly snapped at me, and he kept complaining, "I was in the mood for sashimi today." "You should be able to make a meal that suits your husband's mood." "Make sure my clothes are ready before I get out of the bath." "Huh? You forgot to chill the beer? You're useless." Before we got married, Andrew was careful with his work and considerate of those around him. But it's because I can't do things well that Andrew gets angry. I need to try harder. I started to push myself even more. Then, 6 months after getting married, my mother-in-law showed up unannounced. She was a single mother of one, and after we got married, we built a house close to Andrew's childhood home in a place similar to Nebraska. "Susan, could you let me stay here for a while?" "Mother-in-law, what happened all of a sudden?"
Can't a mother visit her son's house? This house was built by Andrew, so you just need to listen to what I say.
Eventually, it led to us living with my mother-in-law. She doted on Andrew and seemed to despise the idea of a daughter-in-law, saying, "Susan, you're going to feed Andrew that? I'll throw it away, so make it again." Repeatedly throwing away my cooking or looking at my clothes when I was about to go out, she would say, "You're going out in such indecent attire? Are you still trying to attract men's attention? That's just shameful. And you don't even need to wear makeup anymore. It's Andrew's money, so don't waste it, please." I was constantly harassed and belittled, almost driving me to a nervous breakdown. No matter how much I appealed to Andrew, he would dismiss it, saying, "My mom is just looking out for you. She's not saying anything wrong." Getting along with my mom is also part of a wife's duties, isn't it? And ever since his mother moved in with us, Andrew started to be stingy with the household expenses. I haven't received this month's living expenses yet.
What? Are you bringing up money again? It's my hard-earned money, so use it wisely.
He would raise his voice, so I even dipped into my savings from before I was married. Moreover, he began coming home later and later, almost daily returning drunk. I thought of divorce, but somehow believed, surely, if we have a child, Andrew will return to his kind self. A year passed, and I decided to start fertility treatments. I want to undergo fertility treatment. Your mom has been pressuring us to have a kid soon. I'll use my savings for the treatment costs, so don't worry. But I want you to come with me, Andrew. All right, I understand. But just so you know, I won't contribute a single cent. You handle all the troublesome stuff. It was a long shot, but Andrew surprisingly agreed. We went to a fertility clinic for tests. A few weeks after the tests, I was called in by the doctor. The results were unexpected. Ovarian cancer? That's serious. Andrew said it as if it were someone else's problem, without even looking at me. I was called in by the examining doctor today and was told, "It looks like they'll have to remove my ovaries."
Removal? So, does that mean kids are out of the question?
As I was about to respond, the living room door burst open, and his mother stormed in, shouting, "A wife who can't have kids is worthless."
Yeah. I'll divorce you and find a younger woman to start a family with.
They declared this to me. I listened in a daze, but was finally able to give up on Andrew. I filed for divorce. There was no division of assets or alimony. I left with virtually nothing but the clothes on my back. And then one day, I was called from behind, and when I turned around, Andrew and my former mother-in-law were standing there.
"You're Susan, right? Long time no see."
I never thought I would run into them again, and I was frozen in shock. Andrew started talking to me as if nothing was wrong. "You look well. I heard you had cancer, thought you might be dead by now, but good to see you're alive," he said, with not a shred of delicacy. When I ignored them, he said, "What's with the cold shoulder?" "I got remarried after we split, but man, the young one doesn't get pregnant and complains a lot, so I ended up divorcing again. Young girls are cute, but they just don't have the patience. You're old and without ovaries, so you must be lonely, right? I'll keep you company." "Oh, Andrew, you're so kind. Since I'm getting on in years, I'll let you take care of me. That way, you can stay with Andrew too, it's not a bad deal, right?" the former mother-in-law chimed in. They started saying whatever they wanted, and I was dizzy from their audacity. "Well, it's a problem if you can't have kids, so maybe I'll get a young mistress to have them. Since you can't, you'll just have to deal with it."
"Mistress? You think you can get a young mistress now?"
I said coldly. Andrew and the former mother-in-law were wide-eyed, probably because I never talked back during our marriage. "Do you even see yourself in the mirror? Sure, you were somewhat decent looking back in the day, but now? Your balding is noticeable, and you're just a scruffy, middle-aged man. No young girl would want to be with you. You should really know your place."
"What the hell, Susan? It's rude to say that after not seeing each other for so long."
"Who's being rude? You call me old, but I just turned 30, while you're much older than me. You were already in your 40s before we married, and it's been 5 years since then. You're the real old man. Where do you think you'll find a young girl who'd choose someone like you? Girls have the right to choose, too."
"Cut it out, will you?"
"We've talked for a while, but I couldn't care less about what's going on with you. Your new wife, she was the bartender from the club you practically lived in before our divorce, right?"
"How did you?"
"You thought I didn't know? Any woman would notice if you started being stingy with money and coming home late. And you weren't even trying to hide it, how can you be so surprised? I just didn't say anything at the time of our divorce because I was done with it all."
"Don't be a sore loser. You're just jealous because a young, cute girl took me away from you, and you left in despair. The moment I decided to divorce you, I had no love left for you. And let me make it clear, since you seem to be misunderstanding, you didn't get remarried because you're a catch. It was because you were a good customer who spent a lot of money. She was after your wallet. You really should take a harder look at yourself."
Andrew was speechless, his mouth agape in surprise. In fact, after undergoing fertility tests, I secretly followed Andrew to make sure he wouldn't find out. After Andrew entered what seemed to be a club with some colleagues, I was wondering what to do when a woman coming to work said, "Hey there, do you need something from our club?" Actually, I secretly followed my husband here." "Well, why don't you sneak in then? You must have your reasons, right?" The woman let me in. "The thing is, my husband's been coming home late every day, and he's hardly giving me any money anymore." "The customer who just arrived, that's Andrew, right?" "Yeah, that's right." "Does he come here every night?" "Sure does, he's quite the regular here. Probably frequents other places too. He spends a lot of money, so people think he's pretty well off." "No, I know because we worked at the same company, he's not really high earning." "I see. So he's not bringing money home anymore, right? Maybe he's in debt. You might want to consider getting away." "Oh. But, since he's thought to be well off, there are a few girls here seriously trying to catch Andrew's attention. To be frank, even an old guy like him can get some action if he has money. If things continue this way, it wouldn't be surprising if an affair starts. Then you're stuck with an old man who doesn't contribute financially, cheats, and offers nothing good. Not receiving financial support is considered financial abuse, so you should take the alimony and run." "Yeah, maybe I'll think about it." Later on, the results of her deliberation would lead to divorce, but that advice undoubtedly gave her a push. Back then, I didn't ask for alimony, just didn't want the hassle. Even if I had asked, he probably wouldn't have had the money to pay anyway. Then, I turned my attention to my former mother-in-law.
"What are you even saying? Why would you want to care for someone who harasses and disrespects you? Do you even realize that neither you nor your son are worth that trouble? How dare you say that? My Andrew is."
"He might be your pride and joy, but what's there to boast about? He's a 45-year-old middle-aged man, past his prime, spending his money in nightclubs. No young and pretty woman would see the benefit in marrying, let alone dating him.
It's not about benefits, it's about marrying for love.
That's the point, he lacks qualities that make him lovable. And when you complained about young people not enduring enough, it's not about their tolerance, it's your unreasonable expectations. Probably demanded meals to suit his mood, forbade makeup, right? That's why his second marriage failed too. At my words, the two of them started to rant and rave. During my marriage, I used to get depressed from their criticism and was afraid of Andrew's disapproval to the point of not being able to talk back. But now, nothing they say affects me. I was about to leave when Andrew shouted, "Enough already. I thought you were lonely and reached out, but you're getting way too cocky. Just shut up and listen to me." As Andrew raised his hand towards me, I instinctively closed my eyes, expecting to be hit. But when nothing happened, I cautiously opened my eyes. Andrew's raised hand was being held back by a man from behind. Andrew froze in shock, but seeing his face, I felt relieved.
Who the heck are you? Stay out of this if it's none of your business.
It is my business. He is my husband.
What? You're her husband?
Yes, that's right. I'm currently the happiest I've ever been in my life. There's no room for you guys to interfere. Nice to meet you, I'm Neil, Susan's husband. I was just using the restroom over there, so I had Susan wait for me.
I never imagined something like this would happen just because I stepped away for a moment.
Could you please stay away from my wife? Huh, really? You sure have strange tastes, marrying a woman like her. She's already an old lady, and on top of that, she can't have kids. Well, sorry she's my leftovers, but take good care of her, okay? Suddenly, Andrew spoke to Neil with a sneering laugh. Neil looked at Andrew with a chilly gaze and said, "I've heard about you, but you really are the worst kind of person. How can someone become as low as you? Well, considering who your mother is, maybe it can't be helped."
What did you say? You're much worse for saying such things to someone you've just met.
Why don't you remember what you've said to my wife, who is now a stranger to you, before you speak?
Let alone trying to hit her, I won't let you pretend that never happened.
Stared down by Neil, Andrew suddenly found himself at a loss for words. Neil might look kind, but he's tall and well-built. To Andrew, who's just a middle-aged man with a bit of a belly, Neil must seem quite intimidating.
Mommy!
Suddenly, a child's voice could be heard, and a kid clung to my legs. Ignoring Andrew and his companions, who were looking confused, I picked up the child.
Mommy, I did a pee-pee.
That's great. Let's thank Daddy for helping, shall we? And Harry, I'm sorry, but Mommy has to talk for a bit. Can you go play in the park with Daddy first? Who are these Grandma and Grandpa? His innocent question almost made me burst into laughter. To him, Andrew looked old enough to be a grandpa. That's how aged Andrew appeared. They're strangers. They tried to bully Mommy, so Daddy scared them away. Mommy, are you okay?
I'm fine, we'll be right there.
Before leaving, Neil, holding Harry, said, "If you try anything with my wife, just remember, we have our own ways of dealing with it." What do you mean? How can you have a child when you don't even have ovaries? Is he your stepchild or adopted? Raising a child that's not your own blood, women who can't have kids are pitiful, aren't they? Whether he's a stepchild or adopted doesn't matter, but Harry is my own child. You divorced me without listening to my explanation, remember? Seeing Andrew bewildered, I decided to explain things to him. My ovarian cancer was in its early stages and there was no sign of metastasis, so one of my ovaries could be preserved. Of course, monitoring and treatment were necessary, but the surgery went well, and thanks to dealing with it early, I was able to get pregnant and give birth.
What? If that was the case, you should have just said so.
I was going to tell you. But without any explanation, you decided that I couldn't get pregnant, that you didn't want a woman like that, and you slapped me with divorce papers, didn't you? Anyway, I don't think the outcome would have been any different even if I had explained. You were infatuated with a young and cute club bartender. When I said that, Andrew awkwardly looked away. I thought about leaving these two, but before I did, I decided to give Andrew a dose of reality. Well, I managed to have a cute little one, but you should be more worried about yourself than others. Huh? What do you mean by that? Exactly what I said. You felt sorry for me because you thought I couldn't have kids, But it turns out, you're the one who will never have a child that's biologically yours. What do you mean? If I wanted to, I could easily find a young woman. That's not the issue. It's not about whether the other person is young or not. The problem is with you. Huh? What are you talking about? Do you remember when you went with me to get tested, just to maintain your appearance? I found it odd when Andrew easily agreed to infertility treatment, even though I was the one paying for it. But the reason became clear while we were at the clinic. During the tests, I was complimented by several nurses about Andrew. Men often dislike undergoing tests for infertility. I mean, we do ask them to provide a sperm sample at the clinic, so I get it. But it's really nice to see a husband who cooperates from the start. Even the head doctor told me this, and I had an epiphany. Andrew just wanted to look good in front of the hospital staff. It wasn't that he was cooperative with the infertility treatment, he just wanted to improve his public image. Especially in front of people I interacted with, he wanted to make a good impression.
So what?
I went to hear the test results by myself. You probably wanted to come just to boost your reputation among the nurses, but then my cancer was discovered, and I was suddenly called in. You couldn't come because of work. And you hardly paid any attention to my cancer, so you must have completely forgotten your own test results, right? Or did you not listen because you were so confident there wouldn't be any issues with you?
What's with the suspense? Just spit it out already.
It's azoospermia. What? So, azoospermia. You've never been able to impregnate a woman from the get-go. By the way, I had ovarian cancer, but everything else was fine. That's why I could give birth to our child.
Huh? That's impossible. You might hold a grudge against me, but don't make stuff up. Yeah, right, as if. Lying like that, what a terrible woman.
As the two of them continued their noisy argument, I remembered the conversation with my doctor back then.
Ovarian cancer? Me? You're joking, right?
No, unfortunately. But we can't be certain until we do surgery or more tests. At this stage, it's believed to be very early. If we remove it surgically, you should be fine with mostly just follow-up observations. We think the other ovary can be preserved, so please don't worry. Hearing the doctor's words, I was relieved.
I'm glad it was caught early. Thanks to you, doctor. Thank you. I'll report this to my husband as well. I look forward to your continued support.
Actually, besides the report for you, there was also something to report to your husband. Oh. Has something been found with my husband too? No, it's not a disease, so please don't worry. It's just that we've found something related to infertility concerning your husband. Does that mean my husband is infertile? Yes, probably. At this stage, there's a very high suspicion of azoospermia. Azoospermia? Does that mean my husband can't produce sperm? That's what it means, yes. Can azoospermia be treated with medication or something? Medication is almost never effective, except in very special cases. So, testing and likely surgery are the main options. However, in cases where there's an absolute inability to produce sperm from the start, surgery doesn't guarantee improvement of azoospermia. I see. So even if my ovary can be preserved, there's a chance we won't be able to conceive because of my husband's issue. That's the situation. However, azoospermia hasn't been definitively diagnosed yet. First, another test is necessary. Understood. I'll report this to my husband as well. I thanked him and left the consultation room. I intended to report everything to Andrew when I got home, but after sharing about my ovarian cancer, Andrew and my former mother-in-law declared they were leaving me, so I lost the will to tell him the rest. I won't deny there was a bit of malice in not telling him. If you think I'm lying, that's fine, but if you're worried, why don't you check it out? The doctor at the time said it wasn't definitive yet. Plus, it said that sperm quality deteriorates over time, and given your age, you might want to hurry up. Well, you're already 45, and even if you had surgery, finding someone might be tough. Maybe if you were a bit younger, there would have been someone willing to marry you even without children. But with a personality like that, and now the way you look, it's hopeless, I guess. I blurted all that out in one go, leaving the two of them dumbfounded, and was about to head to the park where Neil was waiting, but I added, also, if you try to contact us in the future, I'll consult the appropriate authorities. You know what that means, right? What do you mean, appropriate authorities?
Could be the police or a lawyer, depends on the situation, but it'll definitely be bad for you too.
I made sure to drive that point home. Looking at the two of them, still dejected and motionless, I finally headed towards Neil. A few days later, Neil shared some news about Andrew with me. Andrew was officially diagnosed with azoospermia. It's supposed to be a secret, so keep it between us. Turns out, Neil works as a nurse at a hospital affiliated with the infertility clinic I was attending. We met when I was transferred to Neil's hospital for my ovarian cancer surgery. I see. Well, it doesn't really matter to me anymore, but I guess he took it pretty hard. He was quite shocked. He came with his mother, who was yelling and making a scene, quite a mess. It seems like the azoospermia is congenital, not something surgery can fix. I feel a bit sorry for his mother, despite her being a terrible person. Time passed, and I heard from a former colleague still working at the same company as Andrew that he had been demoted. Demoted? Did he do something at the company? It seems he had a fight with his mother at home and hit her. Was that because of the azoospermia? I'm not sure, but probably. It turned into a police matter. Lately, Andrew has been irritable at work, and once the police involvement became known, he was ostracized. High pride made it worse, creating a vicious cycle. He had to take care of his mother, who got injured during the incident. He used to be just a chubby guy, but now he's become even more unkempt and overweight. The whole situation affected his work, leading to his demotion. Shocked by the azoospermia diagnosis, and then this at work. But what's more surprising is that Andrew quit his job.
What? He quit because of the demotion?
It seems so. Impossible for me to be demoted. I can't stay in this company. I'll leave, and you'll all regret it, he shouted and left. Since then, he's gone off the radar. Wow, his pride really is something. He'll be the one regretting it, I think. Andrew believed he was good at his job, and I thought so too before we got married, but it turns out he wasn't trusted with important tasks after all. Yeah, when you're young, older people always seem like they can do their jobs well. And it looks like Andrew was suspected of embezzling company money.
Wow. That's a crime.
Probably used it to pay off debts or something. It seems like it was hard to prosecute him for it. So, they intentionally kept him away from important tasks without him noticing. According to a coworker, they made his demotion obvious this time to make him quit on his own. Well, from my point of view, that's karma for you. A few days later, a letter from Andrew somehow arrived at my house. Are you doing well? I'm not doing well at all. I was suddenly demoted at work, so I quit my job. It's outrageous to demote me after all the hard work I've put in, right? The company will surely struggle without me, but it's their own fault. Now, I live with my mom. We moved to an apartment, not the house I used to live in with you. It was too big for just the two of us. My mom got injured, so I'm taking care of her. She started to show signs of dementia, possibly because she can't get out much lately. Even now, she often mentions Susan's name. I think she misses you. Truth be told, I still love you, Susan. I remember the room you kept so tidy and the meals you cooked for me, and I regret what I did to you. Susan, please come back. You have a child now, so I don't think you'd mind that I'm infertile. I'll even forgive your current husband if you return to me. You were happier with me, I'm sure. I hope Susan chooses the right future. After reading Andrew's letter, I laughed and tore it up. I'm curious about how he got my address, but we're planning to move soon anyway because our family is growing. The only good thing is that Andrew's genes won't be passed on to future generations.